Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about yet another beloved video game franchise that appears to be getting woke by adding its own alphabet character. This, of course, most recently and most famously happened with The Last of Us Part 2. That Sony PlayStation video game sequel was, of course, notorious for adding a big new very alphabet character who even in fact kills the main character from the first game and then takes over his spot and becomes the new main character. And even though Abby, the character from Last of Us, seems to be a villain all along, they still try to make her sympathetic at the end, and Ellie doesn't even take her down. This is what happens with these characters. They want to put these woke alphabets into these media, but then at the same time, they get special treatment in the story, even within a fictional video game movie like universe. They still get special treatment because once you put an alphabet in like this and you virtue signal about it for months and months in your advertising, well, then it becomes kind of hard for you to treat them like everyone else, even though it is fiction. Like, you can't let an alphabet look bad, basically. And something similar is happening with another video game. Today we're talking about a sports video game, a skateboarding video game called Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Tony Hawk Pro Skater has a new entry coming out very soon, and one of their new characters is going to be the first so-called alphabet character skateboarder. They're adding a new alphabet Tony Hawk Pro Skater game, and that's what we're talking about today. We're going to go over the character, why this is silly, why this is unnecessary, and also how they're just doing this to get attention. Of course, right out the gate, this is an advertisement strategy. We're just talking about people trying to pander to woke leftists, trying to get attention in the media, possibly even maybe make a controversy. At this point, they know this might be a little controversial as well, and it might be like a bad sign to a lot of gamers and a lot of us who aren't really against anyone. We, of course, are accepting of all types of people, including all alphabet letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, L, G, B, T, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X. All those letters are fine with us. This is not about being against them. This is about games getting woke, pushing progressive politics, and just kind of virtue signaling to these woke leftists who aren't even the fans or the people that play stuff like this. Like, do you guys really think social justice warriors are going to go play a skateboarding video game and go around and put hours and time and money into something like that? Like, that just doesn't happen. Most of this media that gets taken over and dominated by this crap, it's not really the fan base. Like, SJWs actually aren't the best customers at all. They don't buy much of anything. So trying to count on them and pander to them seems a little silly when you think about it. And it also just shows how woke and progressive and terrible video games are becoming. Now, this video from Now This has more details. It says, seven-time X Game medalist Leo Baker is set to become the first non-binary skater to be featured in the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater video game series. Now, this is from Now This, a very biased outlet, of course, and they're just always pushing progressive bullcrap. They're always supporting the liberals and telling them, oh, you're the best, and then they criticize Trump and they fact-check Trump and do all this crap. So it's very expected from them, and that's why this story is equally upsetting. So with all that said, let's check out some of the video and see where this goes.
I feel really humbled that Tony Hawk would have me in his video game. Is like such a huge honor. I can't believe this is actually happening. I feel like life goals achieved.
Okay, so this is getting towards what I expected. They're remaking the first two original Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, and that's pretty cool, actually. Like, those are original games that I actually played way back in the day. I believe it came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe like right around the year 2000, and that's cool. Like, Tony Hawk, I'm glad they're bringing back the classics. I think they might be overdoing this whole trend of remaking games and making these HD remake versions, but when they do it right and they have a good price point, like when it's cheaper and they remake it, they add a lot of new stuff, it can totally be worth it. Like, a recent successful example of this was SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom recently had a remake, a rehydrated version that came out. I've been playing through it for the last week. It's been really cool. It's a good game. I actually wasn't super familiar with the original, so that might have affected it. But once I heard about it, it was awesome. It's fun to play. It's a platformer. So these remakes do have their own advantages but it is kind of like getting a little much to remake and everything. But if you can't get a copy of this game, if you can't really easily play it now, it makes sense to come out with a new version. Anyway, the point for today is though they're remaking them and they're putting in this alphabet character. And like I said, I mean, I don't really mind non-binary skater. It's not like the end of the world to me. I've never heard of Leo Baker, but I'm also not keeping up with a lot of skating right now. Apparently, there's some kind of medalist at X Games. I think skateboarding is just kind of not as popular anymore, too. Like, it used to be a big deal back when I was a kid in the 90s. I used to try and skate. I was terrible at it, by the way, but it was a thing. Like, a lot of kids did it when I was in middle school, even in high school. Like, skating was kind of a fun thing. You try to do a ollie or a jump, you try to learn a kick flip, stuff like that. But that's kind of fallen to the wayside. Like, that's not really as popular as it was back in the day. But I would be interested in playing these games again. I actually had replayed a few of the older Tony Hawks. Like, I got the old versions up and running again from like N64 and PlayStation and tried to get them going. There's a computer version you could play that still works. It's still good. But yeah, I would be excited to see them redo it and come up with this in a new fashion, like HD, new controllers and stuff like that too. But the point of today is they're using this woke stuff to advertise. Now this has this Pride Month logo. Like, this is all like about pandering, SJW stuff. This is like an advertising ploy, and I think it's really cheap. And I think I would even say this in defense of these alphabet characters and people. Like, they're using you. Like, I think you should know that you're just being pandered to and being kind of like sidetracked, like with your actual message. Like, if you're trying to be woke and political and get your group like whatever limelight or whatever you're trying to do, I'm not really sure what the alphabets are going for anymore, honestly. But the point is here is they're getting exploited and used to sell this video game, this product. And I think everyone can see that. That's pretty obvious. September 2020, that's pretty soon. Okay, so this is the other thing actually that says they're the third alphabet person, and then here's Alyssa Steamer and Vanessa Torres. I actually remember these guys on the old games, like they were on them way back in the day. So this isn't even that of like a monumental move. It's just non-binary, like the first non-binary. I actually thought this was going to be like trans or something, and yeah, it's already happened a lot of times. It's not really a milestone. This person has a thing from 2009. I'm not sure what games I saw these characters on before, but I definitely know like Alyssa Steamer. That name I saw in a Tony Hawk game. I used to play all of these games back in the day. 1, 2, 3, I think even 4 and 5. So I've seen these characters pop up before, but back then it wasn't like a big deal. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to advertise it because this person is an L or this is a T or whatever it may be, whatever alphabet letter they are. It didn't really matter. It's about the skating. And I think there might have been a little fuss about having one of the first girl skaters. Like, yeah, that's interesting because most of them tend to be dudes. There was also the black skater. I remember Cream Campbell was a skater. I actually met him before at a little demo and he gave me an autograph. That's a funny little side thing. And there's also a little side story. I was actually in the intro for one of the original Tony Hawk games. I'm going to have to check back on that. I think it was like Tony Hawk 3, but it was at that Kareem Campbell demo. Someone ended up using a shot from it, and I just happened to walk right in front of him, and I could recognize myself because I was wearing this green shirt that I had that I knew it was like a Blimpies shirt. That's a restaurant that I used to go to. So if anyone could find that clip, I might have to go look it up myself. But yeah, I was actually in one of the Tony Hawk intros briefly as a kid. And yeah, these games are meaning a lot to me. I used to like skating. I used to like this stuff. And to see it kind of getting woke like this, I don't think this is going to ruin the game. I think it might even be more just about, now this, trying to promote this kind of crap. But I think, yeah, here's someone making a good point in the comments. Like, what does this add to gameplay? We're not looking for representation. We're looking for something interesting to play. We want to know what's good about the game, what the updates are. Like, no one cares about a certain affiliation of a character. Like, the guys could be gay for all we care. Like, we could have this person being a Republican, this person being from this country, this person, believing the earth is flat, like whatever it is. Like, it doesn't matter as much as about how they skate. Like, how are they skating? Maybe a little bit into like where they're from, what they look like, that kind of stuff can be interesting. Like you're gonna look at the skater while you play them, but their like sexual orientation and their like kind of personal life and who they married and how many kids they have, like it's really besides the point, and it's showing that they're like focusing on the wrong stuff.
I grew up with Tony Hawk Pro Skater. We would play that before we'd go skating. It's like 20 years later. It's really cool that they're showcasing a variety of different skateboarders. Like Aori is going to be in it, Leticia, so like highlighting women. Me as like a queer skater, I think is really important to like show visibility for that, while also having the original skaters. Like that overlap, I think is like very cool.
Yeah, I think there's a good point there. I'm glad they're adding more skaters, and I think just adding stuff to these remakes is important and interesting, and that can be fun. But I'm a little worried that they're just adding these alphabets. Like they already talked about a couple of girls, a couple of alphabets. This person says they're queer or non-binary, as the title says, and that doesn't bother me. It's just like, okay, isn't there other skaters? Like, could we add something cool? Like maybe they could add like Crash Bandicoot or something, like another video game character. Like let's have Mario in there or something. Like I don't know, something people are actually going to be more excited about. Like I'm glad that these alphabets are getting the representation and they're stoked on it. But like I was saying before, I don't think this is going to really work for the audience, and I don't think this is going to be enough to like sell a lot of games. Like there's not a lot of alphabets skateboarding, and they're also not playing Tony Hawk or any games for that matter. So I think this is just a failed advertising attempt. And it's also just now this trying to get woke, pandering to the leftists and showing that they're just as focused on identity politics as ever. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also hit that like button to get this thing shared. And until next time, have a great day.